Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth, also known as the Continuum Chronicles. As always, I'm your host, Chris Kent,
And I'm Rachel Kent.
and today we're going to talk about a whodunit that I ran about William Shakespeare. But before we get into that, smash that like button, ring the bell so you know when I upload stuff, and make sure you're subscribed. We have a great community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I used to have lots of hobbies when I was younger. And the older I got, the things that interested me grew fewer and fewer, to the point where I maybe only really have two or three hobbies these days, role playing games being one of them, of course. So that said, every year on my birthday, instead of hosting a traditional birthday party, we run a birthday game. And we always have a pretty big turnout. Lots of folks who used to play in the game, but who live too far away now for a weekly commute are willing to show up once a year for a birthday game. And it's not uncommon for us to have had 2 dozen players or so. And every year the theme is different. So when I turned 42, for instance, that year's theme was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that sort of thing. So at any rate, one year we decided to do something in the style of Clue, a sort of whodunit mystery kind of thing. And since we hadn't ran hardly any games featuring Oberon and Titania, we decided to focus on that era. For anyone who's a new listener, by the way, or who is unfamiliar with our games, we say that Oberon is an immortal, and some of his past aliases were Dagda, Beowulf, and King Arthur, to name a few. Anyways, since it was the Oberon era, we decided to have the setting be Shakespeare's funeral. In real life, Shakespeare's cause of death has never been determined. Some people think it was arsenic poisoning, but nobody knows for sure. So we thought that that would make an interesting setup. At any rate, without any further ado, let's dive in. The prologue to our adventure takes place in January of 1605, when A Midsummer Night's Dream is first performed. And the audience are the real King Oberon and the real Queen Titania, who'd met Shakespeare previously. When they see how he depicted them in his play, Oberon is unamused. After the performance, he and his wife find Shakespeare walking home in the dark, and Oberon stops him. Shakespeare is nervous, and he should be. Oberon is a force to be reckoned with. They talk, and Oberon reminds Shakespeare that the play is not an accurate representation of what really happened. Shakespeare admits that he took some creative liberties, and Oberon says those liberties were taken at his expense. Titania is not a fan of the play either. So Shakespeare says,
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear. And this weak and idle theme, no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend, if you pardon, we will mend. And as I am an honest puck, if we have unearned luck, now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long, else the puck a liar call. So good night unto you all.
and so with that, Shakespeare goes into his house. Oberon and Titania watch him, then return to their forest. Which brings us to the main body of today's game. The year is now 1616, and William Shakespeare seems to have been murdered. Given his fame and how many comic book characters have encountered Shakespeare in their travels, the turnout at his funeral in Stratford upon Avon is very impressive. Found here is Delight of the Endless, the personification of her namesake. Diana and her twin sister Nubia from Paradise Island are both here. Hawkman and Hawkgirl, aka Mr. and Mrs. Hall, are here, posing as collectors of antiques. The Immortal Man, aka Clarn Arg, and Resurrection Man, aka Mitch Shelley, are both here. Sandman, aka Morpheus of the Endless, the personification of dreams and the literal king of the dreaming, is here. Speaking of kings and the dreaming, Oberon and Titania are here. She, by the way, also went by Morgan Le Fay and the Morrigan. Also with them is their son, Aramis Pendragon. The Doctor of Doctor Who fame is here, as well as the Phantom, who met the time-traveling Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the previous adventure. Also here are several Eternals, including Icarus, Makari, Circe, Thena, Venus, and Sprite, who may be better known by the aliases of Puck or Robin Goodfellow. Sprite was also in Shakespeare's plays. Moira MacTaggart and Ulysses Bloodstone are here, as is Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare's wife, who seems more angry than sad. As people talk about her, the rumor is that she felt neglected due to her husband's focus on his career. And while everyone is talking about that, a few people mention in whispers that she may have discovered he was having an affair. Speaking of which, Ariel Kellaway is here. She was an actress in many of Shakespeare's plays, and Anne Hathaway didn't make her dislike of Ariel a secret. Ariel is also thought to be the inspiration for the Ariel that Shakespeare mentions in The Tempest. Also here is Ben Jonson, a rival playwright known for his dramatic works. Jonson saw Shakespeare as competition and harbored resentment towards him, so he's a suspect. Christopher Marlowe is another playwright in the exact same situation Jonson's in. The Earl of Southampton is here. He is a flamboyant patron of the arts and rumored to be Shakespeare's lover. The Earl may have been involved in a scandalous affair that led to Shakespeare's demise. Also here is Amelia Lanier, rumored to be the Dark Lady, Shakespeare's sonnets, and possibly one of his many secret lovers. Francis Bacon is here. He's a contemporary of Shakespeare, rumored to have ghost-written some of his works. Bacon may have wanted credit and been denied, which is his motive. Also here is a wealthy Italian socialite named Leo Vincetti, who seems to enjoy rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. He's been to many parties with Shakespeare in the past. Richard Burbage is here. He was the lead actor in Shakespeare's theater company. The rumor is that had Shakespeare lived, Burbage was going to be fired. Sir Robert Cecil is here. He's the chief advisor to Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. And to the royal family of Great Britain, Shakespeare was seen as a rabble-rouser. His insults to the crown may have led to his demise. Todd Roquet is here. He too is a socialite who enjoys rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Also here is Sir Walter Riley, who was one of Shakespeare's political enemies. So he's on the suspect list too. There are other non-player characters here, but it's a big turnout, and I feel like I've already overloaded listeners with too much information, so I won't list any more NPCs. Suffice it to say, everyone starts to talk to everyone else, and everyone begins to try to figure out what really happened to William Shakespeare. As Queen Titania of the Fae speaks with the Doctor, whose TARDIS is around here somewhere, her son Aramis questions the actress Ariel Kellaway and the actor Richard Burbage. Ariel has nothing but good things to say about Shakespeare, while Burbage says Shakespeare knew how to write, but he didn't know how to run a theater company. Richard downs his wine and storms off. Ariel apologizes to Aramis and tells him Richard was going to lose his job. She says that his anger should fade with time, though. King Oberon approaches Princess Diana and Princess Nubia. It's been a long time since he saw them. The looks on their faces convey so many different emotions, Oberon can't read any of them. He takes a deep breath and says it's nice to see them. Nubia says, I wish it were under better circumstances. Oberon agrees, and before he can say anything else, Diana basically says, you're not going to hit on us at a funeral, are you? Because that would not really be the time or place for that sort of thing. Oberon is really taken aback by her comment. I'm sorry if I've offended, he begins, confused as to where she's even coming from. You must have a really low opinion of me. Oberon is completely confused by what's going on here. Last thing he remembers is that Diana left him. Leo Vincetti then walks up, completely drunk, and asks King Oberon why he's wearing such a weird outfit. Oberon tries to briefly explain who he is, while also saying that he's in the middle of something. Diana offers a weird smile and she pats both men on the shoulders, saying, It's okay. You two get to know each other. The Amazons walk away, and Leo says, Women, huh? Am I right? Oberon rubs his temples and excuses himself. As he's walking away, Hawk Girl corners him. Oberon thinks to himself that the downside of dating people who never age is that he'll keep bumping into ex-girlfriends for the rest of time. Meanwhile, Aramis is talking to the Phantom, who's telling him about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that he met in 1603. Delight of the Endless approaches Oberon. She has long blonde hair and vibrant blue eyes. She's wearing a pink dress appropriate to the Shakespearean era. She is the literal embodiment of joy and happiness. So she smiles at him and says, he looks like he could use a pick-me-up. Oberon was literally just thinking that he should stay away from immortal women, but Delight is so pretty he finds himself getting involved yet again. Tanya just sees this and smiles knowingly. She doesn't mind in the slightest. That's just how she rolls. She's talking to Dream, aka Morpheus, the brother of Delight and the king of the dreaming, which is where Titania came from before she came to Earth. Aramis then speaks with Ulysses Bloodstone, who, among other things, is a vampire hunter. Aramis asks what brings him here, and Bloodstone says vampires. Aramis raises his eyebrows, kind of surprised by the rather obvious and straightforward answer. Bloodstone asks Aramis, what's wrong with this picture? Aramis looks around with the sharp eye advantage. Aramis can see a room the way Sherlock Holmes can see a room. Things that seem random or unrelated to others, or things that they simply overlook, stand out to Aramis. So he makes a roll on 2d10 and realizes that Leo Vincetti, who seems to be drunk, hasn't touched his wine at all. Bloodstone says that vampires can drink and eat things other than blood, but whatever goes down just comes up later, and it's not particularly pleasant for the vampire. Aramis says, so you think Vincetti killed Shakespeare? Bloodstone, excuse me. Bloodstone says that assumption fits the facts that they have to work with thus far. So the two of them follow Vincetti, parties all night. He picks up a woman in a tavern and they end up in an alley. Vincetti seems to be seducing her, and the drunk woman can barely see straight. Vincetti's fangs are ready to pierce her skin when he takes a wooden crossbow bolt to the shoulder. Ow, what the hell? He yells. The drunk woman screams and runs away as Bloodstone reloads his crossbow. Aramis says they aren't going to let him kill that lady. But Vincetti says, kill her? Why would I want to kill her? Aramis says, you weren't going to kill her? Vincetti says, no. Ow. What the hell? Ow. And he keeps holding the spot where he has a crossbow bolt sticking out of him. Bloodstone fires another bolt, and this time Vincetti catches it. Could you not? Vincetti says in an annoyed tone of voice. Aramis asks what Vincetti was doing then, and Vincetti says, eating, or trying to, anyways. Bloodstone says, "Indeed, and that's why I shall put an end to your villainous ways once and for all." But just then, Bloodstone is lifted off the ground by none other than the actress known as Ariel Kellaway, better known as Arakel, founder of the Toreador clan of vampires. And with that, she throws him into the wall. From behind her steps William Shakespeare, recently inducted into the ranks of the undead, and he is very hungry. Arakel says, "I won't allow my children to be harmed." She doesn't enter killing combat, by the way. She only uses knockout damage. Aramis sees her restraint and puts his hands up, saying, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" Arakel says she's an artist and she can't bear to see history's greatest creators die. She wants to preserve them all, for all time. That's why she bit Shakespeare, and that's why she bit Leonardo da Vinci. Leo Vincetti gestures to himself when she says that, letting Aramis know that the man he's been following has really been Leonardo da Vinci this entire time. Immortals can't go by the same name forever or people would catch on, so almost all of them use aliases. Aramis says something about how Leo was going to feed on that poor girl, but Arakel assures Aramis that the girl would have loved every minute of it. And to illustrate her point, she then tries to feed on Aramis. She rolls the dice, and even though he's fast, she's faster. Using her super speed, she sinks her fangs into his neck and drinks. Arakel is surprised. Aramis is the son of Dagda and the Morrigan, after all, so he's not human, and his blood tastes amazing. Arakel has to make a willpower-based saving throw to avoid drinking it all. But she makes her roll and stops. And Aramis did enjoy the sensation right up until the point where he's knocked out. He wakes up the next morning to his dad gently slapping his face. "Wake up," his dad says between slaps. A very pale Aramis gets up and holds his neck. His dad says he's surprised to find his son passed out in an alley behind a tavern. Aramis says it's not what it looks like, and then he tells his dad about the woman who got the best of him. Which brings us to the epilogue, which comes from a White Wolf game called Vampire the Masquerade. In it, the first humans were Adam and Eve. They in turn had two sons named Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel and was cursed by God to become the very first vampire. So Cain is referred to as a Generation 1 vampire. Cain then bit 3 people. They were the Generation 2 vampires. They, in turn, bit a total of 13 vampires. And these 13 vampires are quite literally antediluvians, having survived the biblical flood by slumbering under the waters to hide from the sun. They are Generation 3. These Generation 3 vampires were each the leader of their own clan. Those 13 clans are the Brujah, known for their rebellious nature. Brujah are usually warriors. The Gangrel, connected to the primal aspects of vampirism. The Gangrel have a close affinity with animals in the wilderness. The Malkavians, cursed with madness. The Malkavians are known for their unpredictable behavior. The Nosferatu, hideous in appearance but skilled in stealth and subterfuge. Tremere, originally a group of mortal mages who achieved vampirism through magic. The Tremere are secretive and hierarchical, known for their mastery of blood sorcery. Ventrue, leaders and aristocrats. The Ventrue are often seen as the lords of the vampire society, with a focus on power and control. Assamites are assassins and mercenaries, skilled warriors. Followers of Set, as the name implies, worship Set. They are manipulative and seductive, often involved in schemes of corruption and temptation. The Giovanni are a family of necromancers and merchants. Giovanni are deeply involved in death and the occult, the focus on wealth and power. La Sombra, masters of shadow and darkness. The La Sombra are aristocratic and Machiavellian, with a tendency towards dominance and control. Ravnos are wanderers and tricksters. The Ravnos are known for their nomadic lifestyle, love of chaos, and mastery of deception. The Zamisa are masters of flesh crafting and the manipulation of the body. The Zamisa are often seen as cruel and monstrous, with a deep connection to their homeland. And last but not least are the Toreador, celebrating beauty and passion. The Toreador are artists, hedonists, and socialites, who are deeply connected to human culture and emotion. All of that said, the Toreador clan's founder, Arakel, was a mortal painter and sculptress in the first city ever built. Famed throughout the lands for her work, after a second generation vampire bit her, she painted a mural on which the past, present, and future were depicted. Contained in the painting were great losses to the art community, like the death of Leonardo da Vinci in 1519 and William Shakespeare in 1616. Feeling she couldn't let their contributions to history die with them, she formulated a plan. She bit them each, momentarily killing them, but then raising them as vampires. And they aren't the only ones. Through the ages, she preserved countless artists in numerous fields. But that's a story for another day. We hope you enjoyed today's tale. If so, as always, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell to be notified when we upload new content, and leave us a comment, as that really helps with the YouTube algorithm. All that said, I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.